All right, everyone. Hi. Yeah, my name's Nick. I work in the data and AI services group here at NERSC. And I'm going to go over the Python client library that we've created to interact with the API. Uh, So, um, we really created this because we wanted a Pythonic way to interact with the API. We saw that many of our NERSC users were already using Python and were familiar with it. So it seemed like a pretty logical way to go forward with having something that could interact with our API. So under the hood, it's using Pydantic to take all of these API responses of all this JSON and make it into equivalent Python objects. And so it makes it easy for code editors to use and for you to be able to read and use in your code as well. Um, it also is really easy because we're going and taking that Swagger definition page and we're using that to actually build our client itself. It's really easy for us to update if there's any changes to the API specifications. We also support both asynchronous and asynchronous client as part of this. So it's actually built out of the same code, and we just take that asynchronous client and create a synchronous client out of it. So this allows for a wider range of programming styles, maybe more advanced codes, or if you're building this out yourself, might use an asynchronous client. But we wanted also to be able to support easily replacing parts of existing code with these tools. So I'm going to go over a little bit. So this is that same flow diagram that Bjorn showed earlier about how you interact with the API. There's lots of these callbacks, lots of different posts. Maybe if you're submitting a job, you have to post that job. There's some interactions happening there. You have to get that ID. You have to wait for the job. So the API client's kind of designed in a way to help you do a lot of these functions that you're going to repeat over and over again. So one of those would be kind of connecting to and getting yourself a token. So we kind of saw there's a little bit of work involved in getting a token, but with the client, you just give it your client ID and client secret, and it will handle that token creation for you. We also have timeouts in there and validations to help you so that that timeout of that 10-minute token, this can be handled all through the client itself. And so you don't have to worry about that as much. Um, Also, when you're trying to get a job or something like that, instead of having this callback, getting tasks, figuring out task IDs and everything, we can just go and submit a job. So if you have a job script as some text, we can just create a client that talks to Perlmutter. We create a job, we submit that job like you would in an S batch, and we can even just wait there and say job.complete. And that will wait until that job completely runs and finishes before going on to the next steps. So we're going to jump over to our to the notebook. So hopefully you've downloaded this already. I'm going to be working out of the SFAPI client demo notebook. So you can either run this on Jupyter, or if you want to, you can run this locally. There are also kind of solutions to all the cells in the underscore completed notebook. So in case you get stuck a little bit slower typing or anything like that, feel free to just open up the client notebook or the completed notebook and go from there. So the only extra thing that you need to do is install the client library. So if you're on Perlmutter, you would do module load Python, pip install this SFAPI client, or on your local system, you can do something like create a virtual environment. And then from that virtual environment, there's actually there's a pyproject.toml that'll install all of the packages as well as some dependencies to get started. And then we also just have some more for reference, but there's other ways to get in contact with us if you have some questions about the SFAPI. So from that, I'll actually move over to here. Um, so I hope everyone's kind of in the demo notebook. If you're on jupyter.nurse.gov and you haven't installed this client yet, you can actually just go and uncomment this whole section here and run it. And that should go and run and install the client for you. I already know that I have the client installed, so I'll just kind of continue on with this. So in the first step, we're just loading in uh, some different parts. You'll notice, so these are just kind of some Python libraries that I'm installing and bringing up. But up at the top here, we're importing the things from the SFAPI client. So from our client, I'm importing this client object. And then we have a couple different enums, so different objects that you can go and call to make sure you have the right syntax. And so we have things like our machine, our job command, and job states that we'll use throughout this demo. So our first couple exercises are using an unauthenticated client. So this can be done even if you haven't downloaded the client from Iris. A lot of this stuff all of the stuff in the first section you can do without it. So some things that you might do with an unauthenticated client are looking at things like Perlmutter status. Um, so this is kind of as easy as looking at, we're going to create a client here, and then go to our resources and look at status from there. And you'll see we get this status object back that says that Perlmutter is currently active. So again, we can also use this resources to get the status of a lot of other parts of it. So right now we can go look at NERSC status. So if I want to look at all of them, we're actually going to get a list back from. So this will return a dictionary with different lists of status in here. So dot items. Status. Status dot. And so all of these objects as well that we're getting back. So the status object that I have things that you can get from them. So I'll just print out the status of that status. And we can see that we have lots of different things at NERSC. We have Perlmutter that's active, our global commons, global homes, everything looks like it's up today. So check through all that, figure out whether you can actually do your work today. The other thing that we can do through this is not only look at the current status, but we can look at the outages as well. So again, very similar. This is a list of it is a dictionary of a list of all of the outages. So it'll have a couple different parts to it. Name. And since this is a list, I'll just print out the first one in that list. And so lots of information comes out from here. So we see that you have like something like a start date on that. So that tells you kind of what time this outage is going to start at. We also have predicted end dates and everything like that. So you can use these to programmatically get things like the status of and also the outages. So you could use this for something like getting past and upcoming outages from here. I'm supposed to make my cheat sheet. Um, uh, da, da, da. outage month equals day and outage either. So right now I'm just going and I'm looping through all of these risk statuses. I'm looking at all of those outages that we have and just checking to see if which ones are this month and this year. And so that'll show us, hopefully, all of our upcoming and previous outages that we had. So it looks like the next one that should come up is on the 21st for Perlmutter. So this is a way that we can go through and just use a simple service to be able to predict things like outages or check on those statuses of those outages. So what happens if we try doing something more with our API at this point? We're going to run into an error. So we haven't authenticated our client yet. So now in the next section, I'll go through and show you a little bit about how to authenticate with this client. So like we had before, our keys are going to be stored in that super facility folder. If you stored them somewhere else, you can just change this directory path here and then go and do that. So I'm just going to check. I just checked through the directory, made sure that my keys are in there, and I see all the keys that I downloaded are in there. And then right now, I'm just going to load in. This is just one of the ways that we can load in keys, but essentially you want both your client ID and your client secret handed off to your client, to the SFAPI client. So we'll just run this, and this is just going to load in my keys into Python, and then we'll just use these throughout the rest of the tutorial. So now that we have our client ID and client secret, I'm going to go through and just look at what the client thinks that I am. So who am I? So now we have a like a user endpoint, and so I'll run this, and we'll see what we get back. So I have this user object that I now have. I'll just show the type of this object. So we'll see that these types, all of our models come back as an object like this. So there's this user type, and this user type has lots of different attributes to it. So one of those that's interesting is that we can go and we can do stuff like get our username. So that matches, so that matches my username. This could be different. So like Bjorn was talking about earlier, maybe you're using this client for a this client is for a collaboration account. And so that username would match that collaboration account that you have. We can also do interesting things like, so our users are special objects that have something called, have models. So what we can do is we can actually do a model dump. And so this will convert our username into, or our change any of our objects into something like JSON. So this can be really helpful if you want to interact with different services that don't understand these models. You can convert it to something like JSON and then serialize it to send it places. So I'm just going to exclude my, I'm going to exclude the client. And still should. Okay. So we have this, it converts it into a dictionary, and then we can go and send that dictionary to something else. So our users here have the user itself has projects and groups that are associated with a user. And so we can go and look at these different parts. So this can be helpful for things like figuring out how many hours you still have left in that project, figuring out what groups this user is a part of, uh, and things like that. So I'll get my projects. Project equals. So I'm going to get all of these parts from my user object that I have already. So we can see that this will return to us a list of projects. Can do the same thing with getting groups. Groups. And you can also do this to get the clients that are associated with the user. This can be helpful because this will actually give you a list of the clients, and so you can tell when your client is actually going to expire, which can be really helpful to make sure that maybe you have a service that just goes and looks at your clients and emails you to make sure that you renew that client when it's about to expire. User dot. And let me just print out my clients here. Oh. What did I mess up? User dot. Ah, forgot an S. There we go. So this is my client. You can see that it expires in a little while, and so you can use something like this to figure out and check your clients, make sure that they're still there. So you can also go, all of these things that we get out are lists. So almost everything that we're getting out is a list because you could be associated with many projects, you have many groups associated with it. So we'll go print out some of the project information. But each one of these projects has lots of different things associated with it. So you can see things like the number of hours given, number of hours used, GPU hours given, GPU hours used, and then total numbers of hours given and used. There's also parts to the project for storage. So we can see here as well. Where was HPSS? There's things like your HPSS usage, so storage statistics as well. So I'll just go and print out the CPU hours that were given to me from each of my projects that I'm in. So project.name and how many CPU hours I was given for each of those projects. So this could be useful too, is if you're going through, you want to check maybe that you have enough hours left in your balance before submitting a job. This can be really helpful to go through and get your project information from. So now we'll go through some more things like file system interactions. I'm going to use a couple variables throughout the rest of this. So you can go, and two common ones that we're probably going to want to have are our home directories as well as our Scratch directories. Both of these come from, it's going to be, starts with either global homes or pscratch SD. And then the next parts are your the first letter of your username and then your username. So we can actually use something like the user object to get these things. So username, we need username 0, and then user.name. So that can be helpful because, again, if you're using a client that's for a collaboration account, you want to make sure you're using that collaboration accounts versus yours. So these can be pretty handy going forward. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to just go and use the DTNs right now to do a couple commands. So we have both Perlmutter as well as the DTNs. And so I'm just showing that you can use either one of those systems as a way to interact with the NERSC file systems. So in here, I'm creating an object that we can use to interact with the DTNs. And we'll go and run a command to make a directory. So DTNs dot run. And then this run allows you to kind of put in anything into there. So I'm going to do make directory minus p. And I'm going to format string. Scratch. And I'll call this sfapi-demo. And so that will make that directory for me. Then we're going to go, I'm going to check to make sure that that directory actually got created for me. So I can do dtns dot. So there are functions like ls that are kind of built into the API. So you don't have to run those outside of this. And so we can use the ls command on a path. And we'll just make sure that this path that I created here actually got created. And since this is a directory, I'm going to add this directory equals true to go and get that directory as the path. And then we'll just go down here and check to make sure that that worked. Okay, great. So I went and this ran that make directory command on the DTNs. It made my Scratch directories sfapi-demo. And then I went and programmatically LS'd that directory and made sure that it is a directory and that it is there. Next, we'll go through a little bit about creating files now. So now we have a directory that we're putting stuff into. Let's go actually put something into that directory on our Scratch file system. So here is a way that you can go and do that. So here I have the file contents that I want as just a string. We're going to use this special bytes.io object to be able to take that string and create it into a file. And then we're going to go and give that file some kind of file name. So this will be the file name that it ends up on our system with. So my input file directory. So this will be the directory that I want to put that file into. So it's going to be the same as this. So this is maybe a little bit oddity of the client is in order to go and get this, what we're going to do is we're going to first ls that directory. And then from there, we can do operations on this, like upload the file. So I have my input file directory. And now from that input file directory, I can do the upload command and upload this file that I've created. So I'll put my input file in there. So we should see, I'm also printing out right now of the length of everything in that directory before and after. And so we'll see that it should have nothing in there right now. So there's nothing in that directory. I now upload that file, and now there's one file in that directory. So we can go verify that that file's there. And we can do that very similarly. So we're going to have DTNs, we're going to ls, and I'm going to copy paste to help out a little bit. That, and it should be hello.text. And then we're going to go outfile dot download. Out text text. We'll just print out the contents of that file. I'm
Command
out of my.
expire or
No, it creates a new client each time. I'm gonna go back to my completed notebook to see what I did wrong. I see what I did wrong after copying and pasting. I called it DTNs in one place and DTN in the other. So now that I called it the right thing, now we can go and it ls this file. It downloaded that file and then printed that contents to the screen. Um, so once a file is actually already on the system, things look a little bit different, but you can also still use the first method all the time. But if you know that there's a file there and you just want to modify its contents, um, you can do something a little bit different. So this goes and does that same thing. So we're looking at the file, we're getting our file, but now we're uploading the file. We don't have to do that extra step of naming it because that file is already on the system. And so we should see here that we've changed the contents. Um, so again, be very careful with doing stuff like this because, like I just showed, we've now changed the file contents completely. It doesn't append to the end of this file. It completely uploads a new file to the system. And so I would say just use it with caution, knowing that if you uh, accidentally tried to upload to the wrong place, and you might overwrite a file. And there's not really any warnings or anything because you're doing something that intentionally wanted to do. So just use with caution. Okay, so we've had a little bit about interacting with our DTNs, uploading files, downloading files, writing some content. We can also use the client to look at jobs that we have. So similar to how I would on Perlmutter, I'd want to go look at my jobs. So I can use my Perlmutter object, and I'm going to go look at jobs. And so this jobs here will give me back a list of objects either from calling the saccount command or the sq command. Um, saccount is usually good for looking at previous jobs, and sq is looking for jobs that are either that are still in the queue, so either pending or running. So let's go look at all of the jobs that are currently pending and running. So I'll use the sq command to do that. So I can set the command equals job command, and then let's use the sq to get that. And so what I'm going to get back here is a list of jobs. You can just parse the jobs normally, but since this comes back and we can go and convert things uh, uh, to JSON, something that's sometimes helpful, if you're familiar with pandas, is you can do import pandas as PD. Let's go jobs equals PD dot data frame. And so I'm going to fill my data frame with my job dot model. So I'm going to use that model dump, which will take whatever job that I put in there and convert it into something that pandas can read in form of JSON for all the jobs that I have in the current jobs that I've created. And then we can go just look at jobs. So this will take a second because it is running the sq command on Perlmutter. But then once we've done that, we've now taken all of those that job information that you would normally get, and I put it into a data frame. So this could be really helpful. You can actually still you can use different parts to the jobs. So we can even filter down by user. So here I'll just filter for myself. And actually, I can filter by myself here, right? Because I already have my user object there. So I'll filter for jobs just for myself and run that. And so I only have one running at the moment, but you can still see that this could be really helpful to be able to go and get your jobs and use it to filter, see what jobs are currently in the queue. Um, so now we've seen how you get a job. Another important thing is to look at how we run jobs. I think that's probably a lot of people want to be able to run a job. This is just a really simple job. It will go and generate some random numbers. But we'll use this kind of as a toy example of what you might do if you were to want a job that you want to run and then download the results of that job. So here, you're going to want to fill in your project. You can use either one of your project objects and do project.name to get this account. But I'm going to use and staff. And then you can set your QoS as well. That'll get filled in here. Most people will probably want to use debug to go and get your job through a little faster. Because I'm demoing, I'm going to use some real time that I have, especially if you're working with projects that have real time allocation. This is using the SF API is a really great way to interact with that real time queue and be able to get stuff out fairly quickly. So right now, this job script is just a string in Python, and you can see what we're looking to run. So it's just going to go and go into that directory that I created, and it's going to put some outputs in that directory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my job, my example job is we're going to do Perlmutter dot we're going to submit a job. And so this job submit either takes a string, or it can actually take one of those remote paths as well. So if you know that your job script is already sitting on the file system somewhere, or you've uploaded a job script, you can actually use that remote path that we created before with the ls command in order to run jobs from scripts that are already on Perlmutter. But I have my job script as a string, so I'm just going to go and put job script in there. And my example job has all of the information that you'd get back from the job from a call to it. And so we can get the job ID from here. Let's just print that job ID out. Great. So we got our job ID back. So this job is now sitting in the queue on Perlmutter. And we can use that job ID to get some information about it. So let's go look at Perlmutter job. So the job command as part of this, you can submit a job ID to this, and this will return to you a job object based on that job ID. So I'll say job ID equals my job ID variable. And let's see what the state of that job is at the moment. Great. So I use the real-time queue to cheat a little bit, but my job's completed already. So yours, if you're in the debug queue, it might take a little bit. But and actually, let's go do this a little quicker. I'll submit the job again. But this time I'm going to go and use that job complete to have us wait there for a second. So let's just do this. Let's get our job information again. And then this time we'll wait until it actually completes instead of talking over it. So this will submit that job again. Okay, got a different job ID there. And we'll take that job ID and just wait until it completes. Great. So it stopped running, which means that if I look at job state, that job state's complete. So this job.complete will just wait until this job state is in the complete state. Now we're just going to go and get the outputs of that job. So I'm going to look at Scratch, SF API demo. And we'll get it for this job ID dot out. So this should be our output file. We hopefully, since we named it just with our job ID in there, we should be able to get the one we just ran. And we can just check job ID. Oh, sorry. Our job output is a file. And then let's download that file. Down. Then our numbers are going to be equal. The random numbers we just generated are going to be equal to our text dot read. Cool. So that file was there, and then we just downloaded it and read those numbers in. And now I'm just going to go and show that we can take those numbers that I just generated on Perlmutter and do something else with them. So this is just a very simple example of creating some random numbers in a job, but you could see that this could go to something more. So if you have something that's actually in your output file that you want to maybe view, you could quickly download that output file and yeah, use it to show some things off. So that's the end of my demo there. Are there any questions that I can answer?
I think there was one question if the file upload thing also lets you change the permissions of the file, or you have to do this through like the command endpoint, like if you want to change permissions.
Yeah, I think you have to do that through the command endpoint to change the permissions of the file.
And then one question was if it access tokens are automatically refreshed, and you already answered that, and that's the answer is yes.
Yeah. So we try our best to try and refresh those tokens for you. If you do have a long, like if you do grab a client, it should refresh that token every time that it needs to refresh it. All right, great. There's no other questions. I think I'll pass off to Johannes.
Hi, can you hear me?